Does it get any more AFC North-esque than what we just watched unfold in Cleveland? I think not. Welcome inside the vault for our post-game show. It's brought to you by our friends at Manta Sleep. I am Bobby Trossett. This is my co-host and business partner, Sarah Ellison. And we have a game to discuss, Sarah, because the Ravens have won 4 straight games. They have clawed their way back to 500 football for the first time since week 2 when they beat these Browns. Well, for the first time in many years, they have confirmed and officially sealed the deal on a regular season sweep. They are now 2-0 in the division, 2 wins against Cleveland. They're 5-5. The Jets are coming to Baltimore next weekend. The Ravens still squarely in the hunt in the AFC playoff picture. 23-16 was the final. Todd Monken's got some stones, and the Ravens escaped Cleveland. It was ugly. It was gritty. It was gutsy. Sarah, this is exactly what we expected. Okay, maybe not the trickery for Mark Andrews and a fake tush push. We're going to get into all of it and more. We'll get to your super chats. We appreciate you guys for being with us on this Sunday. If you could, on your way in, like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership partner. Let's dive right into this. Where do we begin?
Where do we begin? Well, first of all, the Ravens are at 500 after starting 1-5. You can breathe. The Ravens can breathe. They can't let their foot off the gas, but they can breathe. And this game right here is solely on the shoulders of the defense. The defense is who brought Baltimore this win because it was not pretty on offense. We'll get into that more. You had 2 turnovers on offense, both deflected passes from Lamar Jackson that turned into turnovers. Not to mention the defense had a stop, and then Jake Hummel on 4th and 4 had a offsides and gave the Browns the ball right back. And every single time the defense stepped up, and sure, it was against Dylan Gabriel and then Shedeur Sanders, but it doesn't matter because it's AFC North football. Chidobe Awuzie, Roquan Smith with the 2 pass breakups to finish it. Just a big congratulations to Zach Orr, who everybody was calling for his job. I was calling for somebody else to take over play calling duties. And all of a sudden, it's the defense that is carrying the day. And let me tell you something. If you are hesitant to celebrate this because the offense isn't what you were hoping for, that's fine. You can choose to cheer or not cheer however you want. But let me tell you, with my perspective, I can see that over at the AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs lost today to their division rival, the Denver Broncos. I can see that last week, the Buffalo Bills lost to their in-division rival, the Miami Dolphins, who the Ravens completely dismantled. Division football is something else. And you're right, Bobby, we didn't see the trickery coming, but we saw this game being tight. We saw it being a back and forth. We saw Myles Garrett being able to blow up the offense, and he did with 4 sacks. It was just an absolute just slugfest, especially on offense to the defense. But again, the defense came up just time and time again. They were put in bad situations, a muffed punt at the 4-yard line. They forced field goals rather than giving up touchdowns for most of the night. Just a huge shout out to that unit. And then the fake tush push. Those 2 things together got the Ravens over the line.
I think the latter of all of that, and we're going to get into every single aspect of what you just discussed, but the latter and the difference in tonight's contest is probably where we should begin. Mark Andrews lines up. Oh, man, you talk about gutsy call here from Todd Monken. The Ravens have obviously had their struggles, both in the red zone and in short yardage situations through 10-plus weeks into this season. It's now 11 weeks, 10 overall games, and they just have not been able to find the continuity or the execution to be consistent enough in those 2 areas. And that didn't keep Todd Monken, though, from giving Mark Andrews an opportunity to show the world what we now know is Hurricane. Here's 89 at the podium post-game.
It's called Hurricane, and I think the guys just executed it really well. Just trying to be versatile in that package, and it was a great play call. It felt great to get in the end zone.
How long have you been working on that, Mark? Is that something that dates back even last year, or no? Is it just more recent?
We're always constantly working on different things and variations of certain things to keep the defense honest, and it was a perfect scenario to pull that out there.
How about this? He wouldn't go as far as to share too many details, which is smart from a gamemanship standpoint. Jeff just noting that Pat Ricard post-game said it was installed this week.
Yeah. Dude, listen, Mark's not going to give you any information. Pat will give you any and all information.
Because Pat, he and Charlie Kohler, right, Todd Monken and Mark Andrews, deservedly so, will get the headline type of attention. But Pat Ricard, 42, as always, leading the way. Charlie Kohler making an impact in that play. John Harbaugh discussing his perspective and his role behind.
Oh, yeah. Let's just hold on. Can you pause it? I just want to set this up because the way it was asked of John Harbaugh, I think it was Jameson Hensley who asked, hey, John, how did it feel when you heard the call come on the headset? And John's like, I didn't hear it. Like he wanted to make sure everybody knew he was a part of this call. He wasn't a bystander. Sorry. I needed to ask you to pause that, but it's like, I just wanted to set the question. Hey, John, how did it feel to hear that call come out on the headset? So here he goes. Go ahead, Bobby.
I got a chuckle out of it too. Here it is.
Well, I didn't hear it. We were talking about it. And, I heard that I knew it was going to be called, but it was part of the conversation. And I was excited. It was a good call. We talked about calling that if we got inside of one. If we weren't inside of one, we weren't going to go for it. But we got to one because Lamar and Hop execute and make a play and gets us down in there. And then I can't remember the sequence of events, but that was the call that was going to be made. And man, it was so beautifully executed. When you see it, and a good idea has many fathers, right? But when you see it executed well, that's what makes it a good idea. And that's what I'm probably most proud of.
A good idea has many
fathers. Yeah. You set that up perfectly, right? Now, a very political, let's see, a politician-like almost. Like, let me make sure that I get a little bit of credit.
You can't give it all to Todd Monken is what he's saying here.
Yeah, no doubt. Lost in all that is what he did mention as well. DeAndre Hopkins has not had a ton of opportunities this year, but my goodness, has he made the most of when the football has come his way, Sarah. He was targeted 4 times today, just 1 reception, and that was what helped set that up. 11 yards, 11 big ones. D-Hop continues to come up big when they call on him. So, some humor attached in there, but ultimately that's the difference in tonight's contest. And it's really interesting, right? Like an area that tonight's postgame show, and we'll get there and we'll have those constructive feedback commentaries and everything on what continues to really be a struggle for this team. Short yardage situations, Derrick Henry on first down, red zone woes, having to settle for field goals, so on and so forth. But how ironic is it that ultimately Todd Monken, just as he did with Pat Ricard, getting a touch as a running back, and there he is in the booth. CBS caught Todd, all fired up. This was when was that?
After the tush push.
Was it? Yeah. That's funny because after that, I actually saw him take a swig of his water at one point too.
Yeah, we saw that too.
Calm, cool, and collected. But it is ironic that just as he did in Minnesota a week ago, he kind of pulls out some pretty ballsy trickery and ends up paying off for the Ravens in a big way.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. It was just so happy for him. And how about this, Bobby? Look at the photo that the Ravens team account posted. Look at that. It's like an icon. It's an instant iconic photo. Look at Mark Andrews, absolutely fired up, flexing from all muscles. Look at Schlesinger, who, by the way, was a problem tonight. Okay, was a big problem for the Browns in the linebacker position. But to see him with his face in the grass, in the dirt, look at Charlie Kohler celebrating, and it's Pat Ricard in the back. You pointed this out on Twitter. That does not become a touchdown if Pat Ricard doesn't put together the big block that sprung it. And I remember, Bobby, before, because they didn't get the yard, the Ravens have not been getting in obvious running situations. They have not been getting a ton of push with Derrick Henry. That's part of the reason why they're not scoring in the red zone. And part of it might be Derrick. A big part of it's probably the offensive line. And so, again, just like on the defensive side, the coaches had to manufacture pressure over here on the offensive side, they're going to have to manufacture ways to get 1 yard. And this was it. And I remember before it happened when Derrick Henry on third down didn't get there. And I'm like, you got to bring out the Mark Andrews tush push because you're like less than a yard. You got to bring it out. I stand up. I'm over here pacing back and forth. And they bring out the Hurricane instead. And Mark would not be caught by Schlesinger. He put on, I mean, he just looked like the Roadrunner out there, but a bigger version of the Roadrunner. And you can just see the elation from the entire Ravens team. It's such a good photo.
You know, man, you can't talk about Mark without the historic achievement that went down in the books today that you can now write in ink. Mark Andrews surpassed Derek Mason as the all-time receiving yards leader in franchise history. He talked about it post-game, Mark did.
Extremely thankful, being drafted here 8 years ago. It's extremely humbling just to think about all the players and the coaches, this incredible organization that I've been able to play for. Without them, none of that's possible. It's been a lot of hard work, and I just think humility and gratitude is the main thing. I thank God and just for allowing me to be in this position.
You already know Lamar was weighing in post game too.
I was celebrating the whole time. We practiced it early on in the week, and it was looking pretty good, but we just needed a couple yards. But for him to go for a touchdown, that was amazing. And for him to have an all-time career, what it was, receptions or receiving yards, that's crazy. Shout out to Mark.
What's going to go through your head as you watch him turn the corner on that play?
Go. That's all I'm saying. My mind, go, 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 go. Like, he turned on the Jets, too. I guess he looked at that 49, like, no way.
So, Sarah, and they get that out of the way early, right? Like the weight that I'm sure was on his shoulders. He knew that this day was coming. He was 4 yards away from Derek, and Derek already congratulated him, by the way, before the game. Like it was over the weekend where he was just like, hey, congrats. I know you're going to get it. So they get that out of the way early. And then obviously Mark ends up having his signature moment and it got to have it just that play will be reviewed and replayed and discussed and chronicled for years and years and years. It goes down as a regular season series sweep for the Ravens. As you mentioned, and I mentioned, it gets them back to 500 football. And this was a Browns team that, as we're going to discuss, sure, is far from high flying offensively, but as we've seen week in and week out for them defensively, they not only have a game wrecker and a future first ballot Hall of Famer in Myles Garrett, who was in game wrecking mode early and often tonight, but you mentioned it, Carson Schlesinger, man, he is a baller. And that's a rookie out there who had a game high in tackles for them with 11, 8 of which were solo. So that dude can play. This is a championship level defense that has a lot to answer, and they got a lot of future decisions to make from an offensive perspective. But it's a nitty-gritty AFC North win. It doesn't matter how it's won. It's won, and ultimately the Ravens did exactly that.
Well, and I just want to do one more quote from Kyle Hamilton, because it wasn't just the offense talking about the Hurricane. Kyle Hamilton was pretty funny too.
Shout out Mark Andrews. Thank you for reminding me. I think all-time receptions, touchdowns, and yards leader now. How many is it with?
5 or 6.
All right, well, he's going to be manifested. Just goes to show what kind of guy, what kind of pro, what kind of player he is day in, day out. One of, if not the most consistent person that has been on this team since I've been here, just mentally, physically. He broke his ankle a couple years ago, gets to work, comes back ahead of schedule, plays in the AFC Championship. Like, it's just the kind of guy he is. And glad to see him reap the benefits. And like you said, there's ebbs and flows to everybody's career. I can't seem to catch a pick in Cleveland for some reason.
No,
but
you can't.
But yeah, I mean, life happens, stuff happens, and he's a warrior, and just happy for him and happy for his family.
And what's funny is Mark was not there while Kyle gave him all of those props, and it was like after he was done, Mark walks in, and here's what Kyle has to say.
Mark, you missed it. I just gave you all your flowers.
So. Yeah, just there was so many one-liners in there. He's like, oh, he's not the receptions leader yet. 5 or 6 away. Oh, he'll get it. Manifest it. And he's like, for whatever reason, I can't catch a pick in Cleveland. We'll talk about that. But that's the second one that he dropped. second one he dropped in Cleveland. But then giving Mark all of his flowers. So there it is. There it is. You've got it right there. Tight ends to lead franchises in receiving yards. Of course, the Ravens don't have a rich wide receiver history, so it's not a surprise in Baltimore. It is a tight end who just took over from and the fact that Derek Mason had the lead when he was here at the tail end of his career, a vast majority of his career played in Tennessee. But there he is, Mark Andrews, 5,784. And the other tight ends that lead their franchises, they're all-time great tight ends, Bobby. Ozzie Newsome for the Browns, Antonio Gates for the Chargers, Travis Kelce for the Chiefs, and Jason Witten for the Dallas Cowboys. So Mark Andrews obviously has far fewer yards than all of them, but he is a a first ballot Ring of Honor guy for the Ravens. That's what he will be no matter what happens from here on out.
Definitely. Nothing about his statistics this year, much like the first quarter of last season, wow you or even reach the standard that Mark Andrews himself has reached for and met and exceeded much throughout his time in Baltimore. But hey, who cares? The statistics really mean nothing. He was the difference, and Todd Monken dialing that up was the difference in a game that was decided by inches in a lot of ways in AFC North football. And don't forget, the Ravens were down several players today. Marlon Humphrey not out there. We'll get to the defensive side in just a bit. He's dealing with that, kind of adjusting to life with a pin in your finger. Justice Hill couldn't go, which opened up opportunities for Keaton Mitchell. And of course, Rasheen Ali, who I believe had his first one of the more productive catches of his career as a pass catcher. So there's a lot to discuss from every angle. We got to get a Manta read in. We got to get to some super chats. So why don't we take a quick pause and do exactly that. Manta Sleep is the official post-game sponsor of the Vault this regular season, and we want to say shout out to them and thank you to them for the continued support. All of these sleep masks, as you see on the screen, including some best sellers like the brand new Sound Mask, New Gen, the OG that I wear on a nightly basis, and a bestseller of theirs, the Manta Sleep Mask Pro, along with the Silk and the sleep masks. They all give you true 100% blackout for a deeper sleep. You've got C-shaped eye cups for unbeatable side sleep comfort built in. Zero pressure is applied to your eyelids or lashes. You've got advanced materials and ventilation for unmatched breathability. And as we shared with you last week, maybe some of these bundle options appeal to you as the holiday season quickly approaches. If you find something you like, use our discount code at checkout. That'll take off 10% for you. It's VAULT10. That's VAULT10. Gets you 10% off your next purchase. We have all the information that you need in the show notes. And it's a great way as 2026 approaches and the holiday season approaches, Sarah, to continue to enhance VAULTRON sleep patterns.
That's right. I actually think this is going to be there's some different gifts I need to do for friends, not just family, because most of my family has this. I got to look at these Christmas bundles for sure.
Yeah, I think so. So go check it out, mantasleep.com. Let me know what you come up with, partner. Keep us in the loop. And thanks to Manta Sleep for all the support that they've been giving us in the form of post-game show sponsorship. Ivory Smith II celebrating 6 months of channel membership. What's up, Ivory? He says, finally at 500 again. Definite defense actually won this game for us, only allowing one touchdown. The offense let off the gas a little bit, put 66 in. I know it can't be worse, referring to Ben Cleveland. Captain Hart is here.
Need another hit piece about Todd. Assisted 3 games. Have been slow. Oh, yes. Last 3 games have been slow starts and terrible offense. He needs to get motivated. Can we stop doing rollouts right in the red zone? Those really haven't worked. Last thing, says Captain Hard, bench 77.
Yeah, tough. That's been tough. We'll get to that when it comes to the play calling evaluation and whatnot. Douglas H. Brown Sr. says, just win, baby, is right. Love to be with you guys for this win. Douglas, we're great to have you here. We're glad to have you here with us tonight. Oceans is with us.
The O-line needs to be overhauled, says Oceans, because Lamar is taking unnecessary sacks, and it's because the offense looks bad. Luckily, the defense is stepping up.
Perhaps leading to some indecisiveness as well from Lamar at times. Brian writes, what a slugfight game. Love your channel. Nick Clemens says, get Daniel Lele off the field now. He's arguably the worst offensive lineman we've had. Even Alejandro Villanueva. Week 3 of facing really good defenses incoming. Keep it rolling. Eric Hill is celebrating 2 months. What's up, EH?
He says, in case no one tells you today that they love you, just know that I do. I just knew, he says, Shedeur was playing today. We said the same thing. I said, I think now I didn't know it was going to be because of a concussion, but we said that we thought Shedeur would be up this game. He was. Eric says, anyway, I'll take the win. Hashtag stop the 22. Hashtag Ravens defense.
I think I kind of alluded to it off the top. This is exactly how we saw this unfolding. Just weird, fluky type, special teams gaffes and ugliness and low scoring. I might add, I was 1 point. I had 24-16. I was pulling for that at the end. 23-16 was it. I wanted that. It's a 50 burger from Brian Walters. He says, happy 500 day. Ugly, ugly win, but we'll take it. Lamar's performance looked lackluster. Didn't really spark any confidence of being able to hang in the playoffs if we make it there. Fingers crossed, things continue to fall into place. Jeremy Yu says, I'm going to be controversial. Extend Andrews. Larry L.J. Johnson for you.
The game has been deemed the ugly sweater game. We'll keep this early Christmas gift for sure. Let's keep stacking W's.
Thanksgiving right around the corner. Vince says, as you and I predicted, Bobby, close until the fourth quarter when they pulled away. I also called them utilizing Keaton Mitchell in the screen game, which was effective. And credit to Keaton, as we'll get to, for bouncing back, having a short memory after, yes, it wasn't the most accurate pass ever that deflected off of his hands, but he knows he's got to haul that in. That led to a pick 6 for Devin Bush. Be More Vince writes, any truth to rumors that 77, I'm not even going there. B. Moore says, do you think Lamar is close to 100%? Probably
look like
not.
it to me.
He looked healthier, but not 100% for sure. Eric Hill says, Zay freaking Flowers, hashtag respect to Shedeur Sanders. And that brings us to Adam Legend.
He says number 70 and number 79 are skating by on number 77, taking all the heat. Those boys better lock in. With Lamar not moving as much, be bookends, not turnstiles.
Richard's here. I now have a buzz with how bad the offensive line was. And Will says Mark needs 7 to break the receptions record. My heart is barely intact. This post-game show is intact. 3,000 plus of you joining us in concurrent fashion. It's the 16th of November, week 11. Boy, did it finish up with a bang from a Baltimore perspective. They are 5-5 now. Let's continue discussing a 23-16 gutsy win for the Ravens. Partner, off to you.
Yeah, so this was interesting because Lamar Jackson had one of his worst games. I mean, certainly in recent history. I mean, maybe we could rank him, I don't know, off the top of my head, how it ranks among all of his worst games. He finished with 2 interceptions. Obviously, one was deflected off of a helmet. Another one was deflected off of Keaton Mitchell's hands. It was a little high for Keaton, but still, he probably should have caught it. And then he had 0 touchdowns. So he had 14 completions for 193 yards and a 47.6 QB rating. Woof. That is so unlike Lamar, who actually, I don't know if this will take him off, but he's been the all-time best career quarterback rating. I mean, beating Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's been the best. So this is definitely one of his worst games in terms of QB rating. Bobby, he was under duress the entire game. He didn't look mobile. We know that he had a sore knee coming into the game. We know he's been nursing that hamstring injury, and he just wasn't taking off like we might see in the past. I think he had one run game with about 7 minutes left in the first quarter, something like that. And he didn't look like himself for sure. So he was sacked 5 times, 4 by Myles Garrett. And a lot of those were like, he was rolling away from Myles and then was trying to create more time and coming back. And then boom, he ran into the arms of Myles Garrett. I think that happened at least twice because Myles Garrett came off the weak side against Derrick Henry once. And then the same thing once against Ronnie Stanley. And so like Lamar was trying to extend the game. He asked about, Myles Garrett and what that was like. And he's like, listen, they created a lot of chaos. They wanted to like hit guys off their routes early, which seemed to be working. So Lamar's trying to buy time, and he's also not trying to make bad mistakes. He's like, you don't want to just throw it up there and have turnovers. He goes, I know I had 2 turnovers, but those were off of deflections, but I didn't want to create more turnovers. So he seemed to be willing to take some of those sacks over, and that's a veteran move, right? Because at the end of the day, Lamar was still calm. Well, again, we're past what was happening in the beginning of the season where he's throwing helmets and yelling and all that kind of stuff. He stayed calm, which is exactly what you need to do. I know he wants to score touchdowns over field goals. I do too. The red zone is a major problem for this team, and they've got to figure it out whether it's manufacturing it or not. But he stayed calm. He stayed the course, which is what you need to do against the Cleveland Browns. In the end, and I said this to somebody on Twitter, they're like, this game is over. And I was like, well, never underestimate the Browns playing like the Browns. And the Ravens were just able to keep churning away. Tyler Loop was excellent. He was 3 for 3 on field goals. And then when it counted, they scored the touchdowns when they needed to. You want more for sure. But here's what I guess my point is: Lamar stayed calm. And how many times have we on this show or have Ravens fans been screaming at the rest of the team saying Lamar can't be Superman week in and week out? He actually hasn't had to be Superman since he's returned from his hamstring injury, but this is the first time in a while that I've seen him have like a bad game. And we've all said, can the team rally around Lamar? Can they just do that for him when he has a bad night? Maybe when his knee is hurting and he can't run like he usually can and he's got to face Myles Garrett. Can the team rally around him? Well, tonight they did. The defense did. And I still go back to when the team beat the Chicago Bears with Tyler Huntley. I said then, this is good. This is good because it's too often the team just says, hey, Lamar, save us. Hey, save us. Well, he hasn't had to save him since he's been back from injury. And in fact, they were able to save him a little bit tonight. And so I think that's a good sign. And Bobby, we've seen so many seasons where the Ravens offense led by Lamar Jackson roll over teams only to hit the playoffs and they get punched in the mouth and they fold. And so hopefully in the long run, games like this against defenders like Myles Garrett, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, that's pounding you and sacking you, almost every single series, that it's like you're learning how to get punched in the mouth and overcome it. And I was so glad to see the defense and other players come to Lamar's aid.
It was back-to-back weeks, right? I think that's what you're alluding to. Back-to-back weeks where Lamar was far from what we've grown accustomed to seeing in Lamar. And you know what, Sarah? Like, speaking to the whole like health conversation and where he might be at percentage-wise, whatever. Are the Ravens maybe telling you where they think he's at with the lack of zone read calls from Todd Monken in the red zone? Because this is a player that, has had multiple lower body setbacks so far this year that he's clearly playing through. And if he's not playing through it, then he's managing it. And maybe that's the same thing. So their issues in the red zone are concerning. And Todd Monken's willingness to continue to go back to this rollout concept is strange to me, because yet again, it kind of goes back to our conversation that we probably feel like a broken record on. And that's like, there's a lack of execution on some of those plays, but there's also a lack of feel for who your personnel is. And I think two can be true, but at the end of the day, if your personnel is not changing, and we now know through 11 weeks, 10 games, clearly they're not changing their personnel offensive line-wise. And so at some point, if you're Todd Monken, you have to have more of a feel for what's working and what's not. And the rollout in the red zone simply is not working. And I would like to see that. I don't know about ditched or discarded or thrown away, but can we just kind of push it down into the vault for a little while? And I don't know if I want to see that anymore. They've really struggled with it. They've struggled with some of these shotgun carries and handoffs for Derrick Henry on first down. They become a little bit predictable there. But with that said, with all of this said, and I think maybe what you were getting at when it comes to Lamar's night, it was far from superb, far from Lamar-like, but made some winning plays. And I think Zay Flowers' feel for zone and a couple big catches there, big bursts, he's always going to show up when it matters. And they got away with it. You mentioned special teams. I think we're going to get to that in full a little bit later on. I see Steve Loop is in the live chat tonight. Congratulations to Tyler. He continues to pass his rookie test. And you talk about gutsy. Gutsy was converting from 44 in blustery conditions, going 3 for 3 with no kickoff issues today as well. On top of that, we'll give him his flowers a little bit later on, but a win is a win.
Well, with Todd Monken, yeah, it's interesting because he did get called out by John Harbaugh and maybe some of the players inside for not sticking to their plan. And so like it's like this fine line of like sticking to the plan where he like abandons the run after like the second quarter. But then also being like, who has the hot hand? And so if they don't want him to veer from the plan, okay, fine. And it sounds like the hurricane was part of the plan this week. So glad that he stuck with that in the right situation. It came out at the exact right time. But can we get different things in the plan then? Like, can we like the plan feels so predictable with these rollouts to the right or Derrick Henry up the middle as soon as you get inside the 10 or you get inside the 5. And so like, listen, I've been a proponent because I got so upset with Todd Monken that he went away from Derrick Henry a couple weeks ago because he had a hot hand. And so it's like, but outside that 59-yarder, it didn't feel like he had that hot hand. So can we put into the playbook more things with Keaton Mitchell inside the 5-yard line? Like, can we attack the edges with Keaton Mitchell inside the 5-yard line? And again, once you start, just like with this hurricane, right? So from here on out, people are going to be afraid of the hurricane when Mark Andrews lines up for the tush push. They're going to be like, oh crap, we have to have a plan for that, which may have these defensive linemen and linebackers hesitate for a second. So then you can go back to the tush push. And then they get so keyed on that, you never know if the hurricane's coming in. Maybe they have a third alternative off of that. And so it's like, but right now there's like no alternatives off of these Derrick Henry runs as soon as they get inside the 10-yard line. Like, get something else in the plan. If you don't want Todd to veer out of that, that's fine, but put more in the plan to see if something can work. Now, otherwise, with the running game, I mean, Derrick Henry did end up having 103 yards, averaging 5.7 yards per carry, had a touchdown. So, it was a good night. The 59-yarder helped bring up that average, though. Mark Andrews, obviously the 1 for 35. Keaton Mitchell had 6 carries for 31 yards, 5.2 yards per pop. That's great. Lamar, they have 4, but it's because he nailed the ball, I think, at the end. And then Zay had 1 for 5. So I like where the run game is heading. I felt like it's what kept the offense going for the majority of the night. We just need more creativity. Appreciate the hurricane, but more creativity once you get inside the red zone.
You know who did his job on that 59-yard burst?
Pat Ricard? I don't know.
77.
No, yeah, Fa'alele, you're right. Yep.
77. Well, as much as goes both ways. A lot of plays yet again where he was sticking out like a sore thumb, whether it was looking for work, getting turned around, you name it tonight. But on that 59-yard burst, Daniel Fa'alele opened up that hole. That gap was there for Derrick. 77 did his job on that specific
He sealed
play.
them off perfectly. Like Derrick wasn't touched. It was him and Linderbaum on the other side. But you can see, and that's what you want from Fa'alele. Like, he just engulfed his defender, just engulfed him. It's like, Fa'alele, can you do that more often? Because you are a massive human being who falls over way too much. Can't you engulf people more often? It's kind of, when you see it, it's like, it almost makes you more frustrated that you don't see it more often.
Yeah.
So,
and hey, speaking to the red zone woes, I know this is the first game they've been without him, but remember how much of an absolute menace Rashad Bateman was last year in the red zone. Mm-hmm. Not having 7 out there puts them in even worse situations than they already are, searching for answers inside the 20. And so knowing that he's probably looking at a multi-week kind of timeline here with that high ankle sprain, that's something they're going to have to figure out. John Harbaugh threw out the whole, Devontae Walker's next man up. Well, guess what? I can't wait to see the snap count outside of special teams. Was he out there? I mean, Tylan Wallace got some snaps, and
Tylan Wallace should have drawn that DPI, man. There were a few questionable calls that went both ways. I kind of don't feel like I don't feel like that was a touchback, to be honest with you, where the Ravens looked like they were going to be pinned. So they had that going for them. But that one was like at least questionable. It could have gone either way. Like the DPI on Tylan Wallace in the end zone was so clear as day. So clear as day. And it was absolutely missed. Sorry to interrupt you. I was upset by that.
No, I tell you what, I was going to wait till the special teams discussion to talk about the on-field touchback, but being that you just brought it up, and when I say on-field, I mean called on-field, which was huge, I think, when it comes to inconclusive, the inconclusive rule book language when it comes to overturning and calls standing. That was huge. And you tweeted about it. That was massive. That was a significant moment in the game. The fact that the Ravens would have been backed up had that challenge, had that call been overturned, because Kevin Stefanski did throw the red challenge flag on it, and it stood. And I think a lot of that was just due to what's the word that I'm looking? It's inconclusive evidence, right?
Yeah.
Is the correct terminology there. And as you tweeted, you go from being backed up at your own 1 yard line to getting the touchback cushion, 20 plus yards. That's a significant moment in the game, and it was all due to the on-field call.
Yeah. And especially when Myles Garrett's breathing down your neck and Lamar's going to have to take a snap inside the end zone. No, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yep. But then I'll also jump on with you just regarding some of the the officiating controversies. There was a lot of contact there on Tylan, and he and Mark were irate.
Yeah.
And so that was probably a miss.
And can we talk about some of the roller coaster rides we were on tonight? There were like at least 3 or 4 different roller coaster rides. That was just like, what is happening in this game? How about when Nate Wiggins comes up with an interception? It's like, holy moly, he may have just like saved the game. The offense hasn't been great. So maybe like getting them in great position is going to like help them score a touchdown. Nope. Very next play. That's when the interception off of the deflection inside off of the helmet. Just like, and then after that, Kyle Hamilton misses the interception that was in his hands. And he's so frustrated. He boots the ball. And so I can't remember. Was that a 15-yard? It was a delay of game penalty. Maybe that's just 5 yards. So like there was one swing of emotions after those things. How about if you go back in the first half, LeJontay Wester muffs a punt and the Cleveland Browns get it like the 6-yard line. And you're like, oh crap, here they're going to score. Somehow the defense holds strong. By the way, on the back of Keon Martin, who got the call up with Marlon Humphrey down, and he stepped up big time with a pass breakup in the end zone there. And by the way, he also had a sack later. Huge game for Keon Martin. What a great game for him coming in when he finally gets an opportunity. Anyway, so they stop it. They hold him to 3 points. It's like, great job, defense. Great job. But then Lamar has the pick six about 60 seconds later. And so you're like on this roller coaster ride again. And you're like, oh crap. Like you're going to go into the half down by double-digit points, but then somehow Lamar Jackson hits Zay Flowers for 50-plus yards, and then Derrick Henry scores it, and that's 3 minutes after that. So you're thinking, oh, great. Now the Ravens are only 3 points down. Defense makes a stop. You call a timeout. You're going to have 2 minutes left to try to go score, and then Jake Hummel commits that offsides on 4th and 4, gives it back to him. Like, that was another roller coaster ride. I'm trying to remember, like the tush push was a roller coaster, right? It was just like, it was so classic Browns because there's AFC North games that are like with the Bengals, it's just back and forth. Everybody's scoring. Steelers, it's like just back and forth of defense, not necessarily turnovers, but just defense. With the Browns, it always feels like a circus. It always feels like a circus with Cleveland. But I've seen the circus so many times that I still felt confident the Ravens were going to win it, especially because they just had to have it. Also because the Browns usually brown, and because I did predict. I said I know that the Ravens have lost 3 of the last 4 in Cleveland, but they're going to turn it around this time. So I just felt like the whole time the Ravens were going to be able to like win it out. I don't know why I never panicked, but the roller coaster was actually kind of fun because I believe the Ravens were going to win in the end for me.
Well, maybe the wildest roller coaster of the game, and the one that really mattered for the Ravens and the difference in this game, was what Zach Orr dialed up and ultimately was executed by his players on 3rd down. He held this Cleveland offense, executed by, like you mentioned earlier on, Dylan Gabriel prior to leaving in concussion protocol, and then Shador Sanders to 2 for 14. They were 2 for 14 on third down. They just could not move the ball. And Zach Orr's DB blitzes, you've already alluded to Keon Martin being on the right end of at least one of those. They were just timely called, executed by his players. The Ravens finished with 3 total sacks today. Kyle Hamilton leads the way with just yet another superstar type of performance, 9 total tackles, 6 of which were solo. He had one of those 3 sacks. He had 3 TFLs, 2 pass deflections, and a quarterback hit. So he's just playing at an all-pro level. The other sacks came from, like you mentioned, Keon Martin. Kyle had one, like I mentioned. And then Kyle Van Noy, absolutely, KVN came flying through and got a good licking on Dylan Gabriel. He got beat up in this game, Sarah. And this was one of those games I think you expected, just like they did to J.J. McCarthy. They rattled him early. The pass, I thought Draymond Jones continues.
I do the same thing.
I know it. It's terrible because he's playing really well and he's bringing pressure. Matter of fact, the game-winning play, what ultimately was the final play. The game-winning play was Mark Andrews clearly, but the game-deciding play in the moment that ended up putting zeros on the clock was pressure brought on Shedeur Sanders by number 41, Draymond Jones, who continues to show that he was worth that acquisition being brought in. And then who ends up deflecting it with the pass breakup is Roquan Smith there. So this was a defensive performance that was far from perfect. A lot of missed tackles. I thought on one
Especially in
specific
the run
play,
defense.
for sure. I thought Jerry Jeudy on one specific play towards the end in the fourth quarter forced probably 3 missed tackles. I thought Malachi Starks had several that I can count and remember throughout the game. Teddy Buchanan at times. But ultimately, when you hold a team, yes, I get it. They're one of the worst, if not the worst offenses in the entire league. But you hold a professional team to, I got the numbers right in front of me, 3.5 yards per play, 187 total yards, 2 for 14 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down. You turn them over 3 times. That's a success for Zach Orr's group.
Absolutely. I loved that he just kept coming after them. That's what you have to do against rookie, inexperienced quarterbacks. And I love that he just let everybody pin their ears back and come. Dylan Gabriel was unimpressive, but he was mistake-free. Listen, they're already talking about in Cleveland that they're mad at the coaches because they didn't really let Shedeur Sanders get preparation. I don't know about any of that. I don't know. I haven't been following that. I haven't been covering that. All I know is that the end result, prepared or not prepared, Shedeur Sanders was definitely worse than Dylan Gabriel. He had more attempts, 16-10. He had fewer completions, 7-4. He had fewer yards, 68-47. They both had no touchdowns, but Shedeur had 1 interception and woof, a quarterback rating of 13.5. And there was at one point when the Ravens got the lead. I believe, off of that tush push. And it's like, okay, all we need is one stop by the Ravens defense. The first play out, Zach Orr did not bring the blitz. And I was like, don't do that. Like, that plays right into Shedeur Sanders. That's exactly how he wants it because he wants all the time. He wants to create time, but he's not Lamar. He's not Lamar in creating time. He likes to sit back in the pocket and look for a while. Lamar can, like, move around, create second plays, or run when he's not dealing with a knee injury and hamstring. And so, like, it's like, this is a gift. He's just going to hold on to the ball. And if he doesn't, he's going to make a dumb decision like he did with that interception. And so it just was like that first play, they completed a big chunk yard pass. And I was like, I tweeted it. I said, Zach Orr, you better keep the pressure on. And he did. He came back, put the pressure on. There was no reason not to. Shedeur wasn't going to figure it out. And like you said, just shout out to Awuzie and Roquan because they sealed it. And I just was so happy that Zach Orr kept it. It was the opposite of what we'd seen in the past of this like prevent defense, which I swear, I don't care what team I watch. I don't care if it's the pros, college, or high school. Why do people use the prevent defense? Because I don't see it ever working. I don't know that I've ever seen a prevent defense work. If what got you there is putting pressure on people, keep doing it. Keep doing it, because you just whether you're Patrick Mahomes or Shedeur Sanders, if you can just sit back there and drink a pina colada and then throw it, you're probably going to complete it. So I'm glad that he did not revert back to what we saw earlier in the season, kept the pressure on, and I think that helped them seal the win.
I think two things can be true. Shedeur shouldn't be evaluated for a regular season debut that was less than a half, really.
Sure.
Especially given the lack of supporting cast that both quarterbacks are dealing with the state of the Browns offense. And then I think the other thing that can be true is that Cleveland's going to, much like we talked about in the days leading up to this game, they're going to be back in the quarterback market come draft season and maybe even free agency season several months from now.
Jimmy Haslam wanted to see it. And like you said, you can't evaluate it fully here, but that was not a, hey, maybe we don't have to draft a quarterback in the first round kind of performance.
Yeah. And hey, who knows? Even if they do bring somebody in, who's to say that Shedeur is still not going to have the opportunity to win that starting job, assuming he's still with the organization, which why wouldn't he be? He's on a rookie contract this upcoming offseason. But I wanted to mention somebody that you brought up, and that's Chido Awuzie.
Mm-hmm.
Because this was a player that obviously started on the outside, no Marlon. So Wiggins and Cheeto were your starting outside corners. That opened up an opportunity for Keon Martin to play inside. We've already mentioned Keon a couple times now. Man, is he fun to watch with some of his DB blitzes and kind of just shoots out of a cannon, which is fun. But yeah, Cheeto, man, I think that the play that obviously comes to mind is the huge pass breakup on what would have been a game-tying touchdown. And it was one of those plays where, you see highly skilled veteran defensive backs make from time to time, Sarah, where it's at the 11th hour, at the tail end, right? The ball has either already been secured by the pass catcher or it's in the process of being hauled in. And these DBs have such a level of skill and patience and concentration that within that hand fighting, within that bang bang moment, you have this uncanny ability to break up the football.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did there in the left-hand corner of the end zone. It was a savvy play, and it came not long after a pretty significant missed tackle on Cheeto on third down that allowed the Browns to continue to move the chains. So it was great short memory from him, a great veteran move by him. They brought him in this offseason. Cheeto understands AFC North football. He used to be a Cincinnati Bengal, and I think he's played really, really reliable football for this secondary at times this year, even in the midst of a phase through the first 5 weeks where there was anything but consistency on the back end.
It's funny because you bring up the offseason signing, and I remember when he first signed, it was like, okay, he'll be CB3, but can he stay healthy? Does he still have it, kind of a thing? And then the Ravens signed Jair Alexander, and everybody forgot about Awuzie. Everybody forgot about Cheeto. And then there was just a whole role reversal, obviously, with the injury that Jair had again during training camp, was, draining his knee, all that kind of stuff. And we know the story. He's now is taking a step away from football, and he's on the retirement list for the Philadelphia Eagles. And so, but Cheeto was the forgotten man. He was the forgotten man. And Bobby, I swear that was a touchdown. I thought, oh boy, this is a touchdown. The ball was in the receiver's hands. Was that Jerry Jeudy that he was against? Who had the ball in there? Who was that? Do you remember?
It was not. It was
okay,
I think it was Larvaday.
Okay. I mean, this is why you never give up on a play. It was in both of his hands. It looked like it was about to be secured. And Cheeto just kept hand fighting. He just kept putting it in there. And that's what you got to do as a defensive back. Just keep getting in there. See if you can swipe it away. Maybe they beat you on the route or whatever. It was just such a massive, huge play when it looked like the touchdown was there for the Browns.
Yeah.
And just to bring back up those things, just to bring back up, or never mind, you got it there. I'm just going to shout out some of these numbers. There we go. I know it's a little bit small, but obviously,
Kyle. Hold on a second.
Okay. Kyle Hamilton leading the way with 9 combined tackles. He had the sack for 13 yards, 3 tackles for loss, 2 pass breakups, a forced fumble, just another game. If he had the interception, that's the type of stuff that puts you in defensive player of the year kind of conversation. Alohi Gilman, I kept hearing his name called, especially in the run game. We're not talking about Awuzie. Nate Wiggins with the interception and another. I mean, just a great game. Brent Urban had one of those big plays when they had the ball at the 6-yard line and they weren't able to hit it in. Keon Martin was the one that had the pass deflection on 3rd down. But before that, Brent Urban just stuffed a run up the middle. Just a huge play for him. So many guys with great games.
You know what? On the Brent Urban discussion,
yeah,
lost in all of this was in making matters worse, really compounding everything that was going wrong with Cleveland offensively. They lost their left tackle. Cam Robinson was declared out. So you mentioned that Brent Urban play that he absolutely blew up. That was the backup, KT Leviston. He's their backup to Robinson. And man, did Brent just absolutely bowl him over. Great play from Brent. So they got timely defensive performances. Yes, the missed tackle number, whatever that ended up finishing, wherever that number is, probably one that they're not going to want to see. I would imagine it's close to, if not more than double digits. But I thought even Teddy Buchanan, man, like, how about the hit stick that he put on Fannin on 3rd down to get the Ravens off the field? Like, at one point they subbed in Trenton Simpson. Remember that play was highlighted because the CBS booth was trying to figure out whether or not a late hit
him out of bounds.
Yeah, even though clearly Trenton made his pursuit. And I can't remember who the ball carrier was at that point. Maybe the live chat can help us out. I mean, that was clearly.
It might have been Dylan. Was it Dylan?
Was it the quarterback? Yeah, maybe it was Dylan Gabriel because the crowd was what inspired the CBS booth to discuss it. The crowd's reaction to Dylan getting taken out by Trenton Simpson. But as you watch the replay and the timing and the angle and the pursuit that Trenton took, it was perfectly executed. So just across the board, it was, from a defensive perspective, it was a very complimentary, balanced attack by Zio's group, and you got to give him a lot of credit across the board for that.
Couple more super chats before we get into our final topic.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure there's other notes too, like special teams that we should discuss before we talk about the big picture.
Oh, okay.
Which we're going to discuss, to your point there, related to the AFC playoff picture and whatnot. But Bunny wrote and writes, worrisome with all the talk this week about how overrated Lamar was. Played with his head. Happy for Mark Andrews.
No, you're not playing with Lamar's head. I just don't think he's 100%. Captain Hart says, I will say this. These are the games we normally lose against bad teams.
Thanks, Captain. Godlike Creations writes, it's a tough reality check. Lamar can't win games with his legs anymore. That's why the offensive line is essential. But will John realize that? Caven is KC has become our newest channel VAULTRON. So welcome, Caven. Great to have you. Captain wants a message to Todd Monken.
He says, can we get a rollout to the left? I don't think they wanted to go to Myles Garrett's side. I think that's probably part of the problem.
Yeah, for sure. Dev James 25 says all the inside runs with our guards leads to disaster. Lamar being hurt doesn't help, but thankfully we're learning how to win these ugly games. Oceans writes, Monken keep calling some plays over and over though, and Tongsley is here with us tonight.
Tongsley says, how do we scheme a running/passing game with this offensive line? Jekyll and Hyde every week.
Paul dialing up some
Scorpion?
What's the Guitar Hero? He says, number 89, here I am, rock you like a hurricane. Dreams is here.
Perfect. If I see one more D-hen run on first down in the red zone, he says, I'm going to lose it. It's predictable. And is 77 invisible during film sessions to Harbaugh? We don't know.
David Cool is celebrating 6 months of channel membership, and we are getting to the latest on Aaron Rodgers in just a bit. Thanks for being here, David. Douglas says, great wrap-up, guys. You two are the best. Douglas, right back at you, brother. Great to have you with us tonight. You're the man. Special teams. We've talked about it a lot, so we don't need to get into into the weeds. But again, credit Tyler Loop, Sarah. They needed every single one of his efforts tonight. He goes 3 for 3 in the field goal categories, including 44. That's a long of 44 from Tyler. You had blustery wind conditions of over 30 miles an hour at times tonight in Cleveland. You had the wind chill, the lake effect, everything that we know is Ohio in the month of November. He nailed both of his extra points. That's good for 11 total points. He did his job when it comes to the dynamic kickoff and all the technique and mastery that goes into that. So first and foremost, credit Tyler Loop, who he's 19 of 21 on the year from a field goal accuracy standpoint. So 33, Sarah. So far, so good when it comes to succeeding one of the greats of all time in Justin Tucker.
It's exactly what you need. I mean, they're probably not going to try to mount there for 55 or anything like that unless they're in a desperate situation. But in a tight game like this, where points are hard to come by, you need a reliable kicker. And as a rookie, he has come in. You mentioned the weather condition. It's not easy up there by the lake. And he just was reliable. And he has felt reliable for most of this year. Yeah. So it's really good to see this development for Tyler Loop for sure.
More special teams notes. Again, we've alluded to some of these, but just so that we have a traditional, if you will, special teams topic. LeJohntay Wester felt to me like he was pressing a bit, Sarah. He wanted to make a play so badly. And as we saw in preseason, and as we've also seen in a small sample size from a special teams perspective in the regular season, he is capable, as he showed at Colorado, of being a game-changing type of talent. Slender frame, but super twitchy, super explosive, and he's got some game-changing like speed. Tonight, some rookie mistakes. Fielding that return at the 2, ill-advised. Ultimately, the muff punt, ill-advised, right? Ends up muffing a punt. Browns ended up having a first and goal opportunity. Yeah, it only led to 3 points, but against the more dynamic teams in the AFC, you're probably not going to live that down. So I felt like some judgment calls from LeJohntay moving forward probably has to get cleaned up. They immediately went away from him afterwards and then went back to him later on in the game. Again, it's a rookie learning moment for him. You already mentioned the Jake Hummel 4th down offside. That's a judgment mental type of concentration. You know, it's interesting too, because if you go back to week 2, he was one of the heroes in that game from a special teams perspective. And then obviously today he's got to get that cleaned up. So outside of Tyler Loop, there was actually a lot left to be desired from a special teams perspective tonight.
Yeah, and I feel like with LeJohntay, he's had a couple of scares in the past too, but they've kind of bounced in the right way. So it didn't ultimately cost the team. So certainly something to keep watching for, because today it did cost the team, but luckily the defense had his back.
Yeah, no doubt. I just want to make sure I'm clear on the special teams here. Oh, big moment, man, that was a brutal punt from Cleveland's punter. It was towards the end of the game there, allowing the Ravens to take over at their own, I should say Cleveland's 44 after a 39-yard punt from, is it Corey? They said his last name during the game, and I'm going to botch it. So I'll just go with Corey B for now. So that was obviously from a Cleveland standpoint, a brutal special teams rep for them. And speaks to some of the weather conditions that both teams, as we mentioned in our game preview, were going to deal with from a factor perspective. And we talked about the touchback. I think we kind of gave that its due earlier on in the show. So overall, I think we've kind of covered things thoroughly enough for my liking. On the special team side of things, are you all good as well?
All good, because I already made all my comments throughout the show on special teams.
All right, cool. I'm just kind of scrolling through here to make sure that our Google Notes page has fully been applied and shared, because you and I, we put a lot of time into that Google Doc, and we want to make sure that everything gets shared, that we're being thorough. So before we finish up our final topic here and take a kind of a 1,000-foot up approach, if you will, to what the AFC looks like, let's just cook through these and get fully caught up. Rodrigo is celebrating 2 months. And Rodrigo says, nothing but love for you in the chat. Finally winning ugly games. Best from Chile. Woo. Rodrigo, my sister Tori studied abroad in Santiago, and I visited her in 2018. So let us know, where do you live specifically in Chile? Thanks you for being here, man. JL Green, for you.
No critiques tonight. I just wanted to say hi and yay. Thanks, JL.
And Show Me Rose says Browns bench pressed all 5 of our offensive line again.
Yeah.
Browns bench pressed all 5 of our offensive line again. We still don't lift. Thanks, Show Me Ro. And thanks to all of you guys for being with us tonight. Over 4,200 concurrents at the moment. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Rodrigo says he's from Viña del Mar, an absolutely beautiful place outside of Santiago, about an hour outside of it. So Rodrigo, encantado de conocerte. Thank you for being with us tonight. Partner, let's take a look at the AFC playoff picture at the moment. It's currently 9:17 Eastern in the evening on the 16th of November for those of you that are not watching in live formatting right now. And here come the Denver Broncos. Are they here to stay? They have a cushion in the AFC West right now over the Kansas City Chiefs, who, Sarah, much like the Ravens, if the postseason began today, which it does not, but if it did, both of those teams would be on the outside looking in. Your division leaders right now, Denver, 9-2, having beaten the Chiefs tonight, a game that Tori, by the way, was in attendance for. Brothers and I treated her to a birthday celebration and surprised her with tickets. She and her fiance went to that game, which was an unreal ending, by the way, in last-second fashion by Will Lutz. New England's won 8 in a row. They're atop the AFC East at 9-2. The Colts are 8-2. Pittsburgh beat Cincinnati, which we're going to get to in a minute here. They're 6-4. There's some big Aaron Rodgers news we have to discuss as well. Your wild card teams right now would be Buffalo at 7-3, who won today. The Chargers, Sarah, who are leaking oil at 7-4. They got plunked today by Jacksonville, who improved to 6-4. The Jaguars would be a wild card team right now. And of course, you see, for those of you in the non-audio only formatting right now, in the hunt, Houston, Kansas City, and Baltimore, all of whom are 5-5. If the playoffs were to begin today, no longer would Indianapolis have that top overall seed and first round bye. It'd be Denver. This is starting to shape up, partner.
This is starting to shape up, and it's exciting to me. The Ravens have advanced, Bobby, from lurking. Remember last week at 4-5, the Ravens were lurking. Now they're in the hunt, and you know who they're hunting? They're hunting those Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
They are hunting those Pittsburgh Steelers, who are only 1 game ahead. And this is just going to be such theater, because I'm telling you, the Ravens are going to overtake the Steelers for the AFC North. Been saying it for weeks now, and it just continues to happen. The AFC North gauntlet began tonight. We knew there was 4 of their next 5 games was against the AFC North. They took care of business where they have not taken care of business in Cleveland for a while. And of course, there's circumstances that Lamar was not in all those games, of course. But they're coming. Bobby, I'm probably going to have to eat my words on the Denver Broncos. I made fun of you so hard for saying the Broncos were going to beat the Chiefs for the AFC West. It's not over yet, but I'm probably going to have to eat my words. We're all going to have words to eat ourselves. But the Ravens are coming. The Ravens are coming, and they've got the Jets next. And then I believe it's the Bengals on Thanksgiving night. Those are winnable games for the Ravens. They're going to keep chugging away. The Ravens only continue to get better. Their opponents have been much lesser than they have in the past, but the Ravens have also gotten better. You cannot deny that. Mike Green continues to progress. Malachi Starks continues to progress. Awuzia, you have Keon Martin. Marlon Humphrey's going to come back again after he comes back from the finger pin. The Ravens are coming, and I don't think this is a pretender. I think they're legitimate contenders for a playoff spot. Once we get there, we'll talk then. But this whole field that you're putting up right here, nobody scares me. There are teams that are playing better than Baltimore right now, for sure. But nobody scares me. The Ravens are in the hunt. I believe they're going to take over the Steelers. And then once you get there, this field is not as scary as it's been in the past.
Well, as you've alluded to, perhaps we'll both have words to eat, because if Pittsburgh is without Aaron Rodgers, they do not stand a chance to continue what's clinging right now. They are clinging on to a 1-game lead over the Ravens in the AFC North. And here is the latest with A-Rod. Adam Schefter noting a short while ago that the initial concern is that Aaron Rodgers has, quote, a slight break. That's one source. Quote, a slight break in his left wrist. He's going to undergo further testing Monday to determine the full extent of the injury and how long he'll be sidelined. So one source is telling Schefter that Aaron has a slight break in his left wrist. I bookmarked the NFL Network guys who shared some commentary and some reporting from their sources. Aaron, according to Ian Rappaport, has indicated to people close to him that he'll be back soon. Initial testing would support that, but more is coming. Pelissero writes he's going to, as Schefter wrote, that Rodgers is going to undergo more tests Monday on his left wrist, but the initial belief is that it's nothing long-term. X-rays at the stadium showed a small fracture. They won't know more until further scans. So it kind of seems like everybody's saying the same thing, just in a different way. But if Aaron's, and by the way, let's be clear here, this is his left wrist. So it's the non-throwing wrist, which is obviously a significant component as you think about some of the potential limitations and the pain managing that will inevitably have to happen if this is indeed something that he's going to try and play through in the coming weeks. But let's be clear. The Steelers stand no chance to remain atop the AFC North without Aaron. Mason Rudolph is QB2. They have a rookie day 3 pick who would be, I guess, the primary backup to Mason moving forward. So this is a big deal for the Steelers, a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. I mean, Mason Rudolph isn't going to take you too far. Like, I'm sorry, but this league is separated into teams that have quarterbacks and teams that don't have quarterbacks. And Mason Rudolph is not going to put you in the category of like, ooh, we're a team that has a quarterback. And so that being said, even if Aaron Rodgers comes back, you don't think that teams are going to be trying to like knock him down, hope that he's going to have to brace himself, with that left wrist and whatnot. So he may be able to play. He may be back. It's his non-throwing arm, but it is going to hamper him. But the Ravens are hampered with Lamar Jackson right now on that knee. And so that's the NFL season. That's the NFL season. It's a brutal, violent sport. It's 100% injury rate, no matter what team you're on. And it's going to be who can survive it, who can gut it through, who can stay the healthiest, the longest, and who can fight through injuries if they choose to do so. And so, this is going to be something to continue to watch. And even with the healthy Aaron Rodgers, I've already said the Ravens are going to take over the AFC North. This isn't going to help the Steelers.
One thing that you need to continue to underscore here is that Aaron has played through pain before. Mm-hmm. He's going to play through pain again. He's 41 years old, and this is his non-throwing hand, his non-throwing wrist. Just to be clear on that, as Francis Trossett chimes in the live chat telling me and you to not sleep on Mason Rudolph.
Sorry, I'm already asleep. He's got to wake me up, Mason does.
The Steelers' defense shouldn't be slept on because while it's looked unrecognizable at times this year, it showed up today against Cincinnati. Okay, first of all, there's still a 1-game lead atop this division for Pittsburgh now through 11 weeks of football. They improved to 6-4, 34-12 in a game that was this final score does not tell the story of how close it was, even late. 2 touchdowns scored by the Steelers defense, 1 touchdown allowed. Joe Flacco threw a pick 6. This is a game that the Steelers defense showed up for. So it's a 1-game lead right now. They're 6-4. Ravens are 5-5, as we've mentioned. Cincy dropped to 3-7, further complicating, I'm sure, Joe Burrow's internal conscience, thinking, "What the heck? Like, what? I'm rushing back for what?" Even though they're still not mathematically out. If they win out, and that 10-7, you got a pretty darn good chance to not only win the division, but or not only make the playoffs, but potentially win the division. But a lot needs to happen there, and Burrow's still weeks out potentially from recovering and returning. And then, of course, Cleveland dropped to 2-8 as their season continues to go south. So a lot is going to change, but so far, Sarah, they have passed. The Ravens have the AFC North test. They're 2-0 in division. And as you've mentioned, you still have to play Pittsburgh twice. You still have to play Cincinnati twice. And it all starts on Thanksgiving night against the Cincinnati team that will likely well, I shouldn't say be without Joe Burrow. We just don't know yet.
We don't know.
They're going to be with either Joe. They're going to be with one Joe. It's a matter of which
Joe's
Joe.
going to start. Joe's going to start.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I mean, we kind of mentioned it briefly, but the Bills did come up with a big win. They needed this win. They beat a very solid Tampa Bay Bucks team, 44-32. Josh Allen had a big night. A lot of Bills fans making excuses for him last week. Was last week they lost to Miami? That was last week, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So listen, you're playing against teams in other conferences. We know how that is. Lamar's lost 1 or 2 games to the NFC. So Josh Allen had a great game, 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. So 6 total, 357 total yards, 44 points scored. So, that's how they got themselves back up into contention, but they're just a wild card because it is the New England Patriots that kind of have that division 1.5 games, 2 games ahead. So any thoughts on the Bills game that you wanted to mention?
They're dealing with drama related to their former first round pick in Keon Coleman. He missed a meeting on Friday and they benched him. They healthy scratched their former first round pick, who's had at least 3 disciplinary non-football related antics pop up over the years. So that's concerning for him and for the Bills. And he hasn't been playing well on top of that. So that's a problem. But hey, Tampa's a good team. The Bucks are a force to be reckoned with. They'll have a shot at coming out of the NFC. If I had to pick, a team right now, I don't know. I still think the Rams have a good chance. Their end to their game today was absurd. They beat the Seahawks 21-19. I was watching that, kind of multitasking earlier on, but that's neither here nor there. We're focusing on the AFC, where, as we've already mentioned, Denver beat Kansas City 22-19. Will Lutz, the game-deciding field goal as time expired. They are 6-0 at home. This team is finding ways to win. Bo Nix has been up and down. You talk about a roller coaster related to Cleveland earlier on, or just the specifics of this AFC North clash between Cleveland and Baltimore. Bo Nix's season has been a roller coaster, but bottom line is they're finding ways to win games despite some of the lackluster quarterback play. 9-2 overall. Sean Payton getting it done, and this matchup will happen again, Sarah, just a little over a month from now on Christmas night. So that'll be a fun one to watch. When everybody probably will have a chance to watch around the world. So they get the win, and as we mentioned earlier on, they got a good control right now, stranglehold over the AFC West division. Carolina beat Atlanta in the NFC 30-27. Houston with Davis Mills, CJ Stroud is down 16-13. They beat Tennessee. So the Texans are kind of lurking, as we mentioned, we upgraded that category, right, to in the hunt. So Houston, Kansas City, and Baltimore all in the hunt.
No, those guys are more lurking. I feel like Ravens are in the hunt.
Yeah, correct. But what the NFL on CBS graphics crew has them in is all under the same category. But I would agree with you. And then Jacksonville thumped the Chargers. Woo. Justin Herbert's offensive line is in a world of hurt. 35-6 is the final there.
And they have Greg Roman.
Chicago. Sarah, look at the Bears, man. 19-17. They beat the Vikings. Ben Johnson's got his team finding a way, and I think they've won like 6 of their last 7 or something like that.
And the one that they lost was against the Ravens.
Yeah.
So don't sleep on that with Tyler Huntley.
Yeah. Let me get that too, because was it 6 of 7 or 7 of 8? This team's rolling right now. They have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3. Wow, holy crap! 7 of 8. 7 of 8. Chicago has won. So good for them. Yeah, because they started 0-2. So anyway, that's
Don't
what's
mess
going
with
on.
Pro Bowler Tyler Snoop, Bobby. Huntley. Pro Bowler Tyler Snoop Huntley.
They found a way.
He has a way with Chicago. He's now 2-0 against Chicago.
That is your AFC playoff picture. Somehow, some way, you got to go back to 21 or 22 that Snoop picked up that win all those years ago, and now in his 3rd stint with the Ravens, maybe just maybe, if they end up contending for the postseason, you'll remember that little stretch of heroics that Snoop was able to give them in the middle part of the season. So Ravens are 5-5. Jets come to town now. You've already mentioned it. It's then a quick turnaround for Thursday Night Football, Thanksgiving. against Cincinnati, and everything is wide open. We will monitor closely Aaron Rodgers' situation. But right now, Ravens are doing everything in their power, within their control. They're back at 5-5, 500 football, and they'll next have the New York Jets coming to town on Sunday.
This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun over the next 10 days because Ravens are coming off a win. They're going to play the Jets. We will literally pull our hair out if they lose against the Jets. I don't think they will. And then a few days later, it's Ravens, Bengals, Thanksgiving night. Get your popcorn ready. This is going to be fun. And that will set them up against the Steelers and then the Patriots and then the Packers. This is going to be fun. The Ravens have put themselves in a position at 500 with probably, I think, two very winnable games to come. I'm not going to say they're going to steamroll anybody, except for the Jets. But they've put themselves in a position that's making the season fun again. That's 4 wins in a row. Let's go. Let's have fun.
Yep. Fernando, I think, is feeling that too. He says, if we stick with correlating the season with the hero's journey, our hero has climbed out of the abyss. Transformation is nearly complete and redemption is within reach. Ravens still rising. LFG.
That was good. Good job, Fernando. That was a good one. Lasso Sirius says we win the division and likely would get Buffalo, and we'd likely get Buffalo in the wild card game in Baltimore if things continue the way they look now. Good. Bring them to Baltimore. I'm tired of these playoff games in Buffalo. Bring them to Baltimore. Get redemption in Baltimore. That's what I want. Well, I'm a little ahead of myself, though. We're at 500 after beating the Browns. So
it's almost like he was inspired by Fernando's message there. Speaking of redemption, right? So long way to go, but it's setting up very nicely for the Ravens right now, especially if Aaron has to miss time. Something tells me he's going to do everything within his power to play through it and keep the Steelers afloat. And maybe, just maybe, Mason Rudolph will have to do that for a week or two as Aaron, gets himself in a position to play. So what we know for the time being, at least, is that the Ravens are still 1 game out of the division. They have won 4 straight games. They have clawed themselves and dug themselves out of a 1-5 hole, and they are now 5-5. The Jets come to town, as we mentioned, on Sunday, and this has been your post-game instant reaction here inside the Vault, which is brought to you by our friends at Manta Sleep. If you could on the way out, please like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. We appreciate everybody who chimed in today via Super Chat and gifts and channel memberships and all that good stuff. And, of course, our 4,500 plus at the moment who are concurrently watching us. Thank you guys for spending part of your Sunday evenings with us. I will be live within the hour on my personal channel before we shut this thing down once and for all. Maybe you're watching Sunday Night Football. It's a powerhouse between Detroit and Philadelphia. 6-6 early in the first half right now. That game is tied. So for Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this instant reaction post-game live stream. We'll catch up with you, as always, for a noon Ravens lunch hour live stream tomorrow. That's the 17th of November. And until then, Vaultrons, thanks for spending some time with us here inside the Vault. We'll talk to you soon.